It's Crystal Palace versus Tottenham this weekend after the Christmas break. Firstly, and most importantly, I hope you all had a great Christmas. I wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. In this video, we'll be talking all things about the game, from my thoughts to team news to predicted lineup to preferable lineup, combined 11 as well between both Tottenham and Crystal Palace, in my view, both with injured players and both, just with, players that are currently available. So it should be a good one. A lot to discuss. I'll be as honest, as balanced as well as possible. Stay tuned till the end.
You came along just like a song and brightened my day. Who'd have believed that you were part of the dream? Now it all seems like years away. You know I can't smile without you. I can't smile without you. I can't laugh, I can't sing. I'm finding it hard to do anything, and I feel sad when you're sad. I feel glad when you're glad. If you only knew what I'm going through, I just can't smile without you.
If you're new, please like and subscribe to the channel. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you all. So this game, I think, is of importance to both teams. Crystal Palace, they're not in the best form, let's just say. And I think it's outside unrest, civil unrest, maybe noise about, in particular, the manager's future. Oliver Glasner, of course, we had the summer, didn't we? The whole situation with Mark Gahey, that couldn't have had a positive impact, I'm sure, on the Palace manager, the Austrian, or the Palace squad. But the point is, Glasner's a great manager who's clearly punching above his weight, or Palace are punching above the weight under him. And he is unlikely, if you believe reports such as Fabrizio Romano, Italian journalist, unlikely to renew his contract. So I don't think it's at risk of completely collapsing at Crystal Palace. But there's no secret that they cannot cope with playing with 2 games a week. The benefit for Crystal Palace is that they play Tuesday night in the Carabao Cup rather than the Thursday night Europa League. The benefit to Tottenham is that they didn't play at all midweek. Not at all. And Crystal Palace, of course, playing Tuesday. And as we know, it went into penalties. 8-7, was it, in the end, to Arsenal. So, yeah, Palace doesn't look good. Last time out in the Premier League, if we go back to that, I believe they lost, didn't they, 4-1 Ellen Road against Leeds, where they did implode. But at the same time, they had opportunities to score at least 2 or 3 goals more than the one they got. The point is, Palace are a good side. I think they are really missing and will continue to really miss the likes of Munoz if he turns out to be injured. I think that in particular, of course, Miss Sarr, huge player for them, loves to go in Big Six. Well, in games against Big Six teams, he's out through AFCON. Nketiah is a doubt for a knock. But for Tottenham, in terms of missing players, both Romero and Xavi Simons are the big one, both picking up a red card last time out, which is, I agree with both of them, unfortunately. I think it's both stupidity. Romero's lucky to only missing 1 game. Simons, of course, missing 3, which could force changes for Spurs in this game in terms of playing maybe players in positions that we don't want to, such as Lucas Bergvall. So in this game, it'll be tough. I think usually you'd sit here and go, Tottenham take a point against a really well-drilled Crystal Palace team under Oliver Glasner. Something you wouldn't have said, 2-3 years ago. A point away to Palace, you'd be seen as unambitious. Right now, it is a good point. Having said that, it has to be wins for Thomas Frank and it has to be wins for Tottenham, considering where we are in the table is not where we want to be. I'm not one of those fans that goes, look, we've got to get top 4 instantly, even if that is the aim of the team. Great. But there's no doubt we need to start playing better and we need to start winning football matches. So on screen, I'm going to bring up now the lineup that I would play if I was Tottenham Hotspur manager. On screen would be my lineup then. So 4-2-3-1 formation, of course, familiar to what Thomas Frank plays. So just to be clear, if people are new to these videos, if you are, welcome. And if you're coming back as well, so big welcome and thank you to you. But the point is, this is what I would do if I was Tottenham Hotspur manager. I was privileged enough to be in that position. Vic in goal, again, I say it every week, but there are conversations, Kinski being the number 1, but I think they get drowned out. More Vicario plays well, and we know he has individual errors. I think there's a longer-term conversation to be had in terms of Vicario. It's a whole different video on it. I'm sure I could create a podcast even. Is Vicario, what Tottenham need to go from boom to boom, basically to the next level. I mean, I think he's a good goalkeeper. I just don't think he's world class. But I think he's right to be the number 1 for now. He's earned his stripes, let's say. Well, The doggy is out, injured still, so Porro and Spence, no doubt, I think will be the fullbacks. Davies, I don't think it's a realistic option. Not impossible for him to start. So I'd go Porro at right back, Spence at left back with Van der Ven and Dance at the centre back. So no surprise there. Romero, of course, as we said earlier, out, unfortunately for us. I'd stick with Bentancur and Gray in midfield because Palace are more of a defensive team. You're going to need people who are good on the ball. I see Archie Gray is really neat and tidy on the ball. I think he's really good at leads. We need to see a little bit more of that. We've seen him, he's played well this year, apart from I think it was Forest, wasn't it? Yes, yeah, Forest, where he made an individual error and didn't really have an impact on the game. He's been okay for us, at least. He's been okay and often been really good, actually. I'll go a little bit further than that. And Bentancur as well. I mean, there's a little bit more about him than Paulinho. I like Paulinho. I don't think it's right to sign him permanently. The more I see him, I just think you're a little bit of a shadow of your former self. You just don't cover the same distance and the same time anymore. I'd be bold. I'll start Kudus in the 10. I'll start Johnson on the right, Tell on the left, and Richarlison up top. So let me talk to you about my thinking behind this. So Johnson's very strong links, of course, to Crystal Palace. So I just think, you start him in this game, could have a point to prove, either to impress Crystal Palace or to shut down the rumours. But that's not the main point I'm playing him. The main point I'm playing him is, of course, Simmons is out. So there's going to be some juggling, some reshaping, let's say, at the forward line. Kudus is frustrated fans recently from going backwards. I think put him in that 10 position temporarily, yes, to Rome. And of course, with Decky coming back eventually, Maddison eventually too coming back, Simmons after 3 games coming back from suspension, there's unlimited options for 10. And the easy one would say put Bergvall in the 10, but I think that, isn't right for him. And I know I haven't started Bergvall, which is incredibly harsh and it pains me to do because he's one of the better players, but I just don't think maybe this type of game suits him that much. But Kudus in the 10, I think give him a go. He can, he can go back a little bit more then, and it just suits, I think, his game a little bit more. I say it every time, he has a point to prove. He's originally left out of the Champions League squad now included. I think he plays okay when he comes on. Some players are better in cameo, some players are better off the bench. Tell could be that player, but I think I'd start him. Same with Brennan Johnson as well. Tottenham's top scorer last year. He deserves an opportunity. If we're not scoring enough goals or creating enough chances, surely he play a top scorer. Just a thought, Thomas. But then Richarlison down the middle. I like Kolo Muani. Richarlison's numbers are better, but Kolo Muani's performance is better. Richarlison doesn't have a lot, doesn't have a lot in terms of his all-round game. So if Richarlison doesn't score, he doesn't look like he's played very well at all. But that would be my lineup. Get involved in the comments below. What would be yours? Now we move on to what I actually think Thomas Frank will go with, which is predicted lineup. It's on your screen now. Vicario, of course, still in goal. Backline the same. Porro right back. Spence left back. Van der Ven and Danso as the centre backs. I think he'll actually change his formation because he's a flexible guy. He's a flexible manager. And he's, I'd argue, good in-game management. But I think he'd be good for management from the start. Yeah, with the 4-3-3 formations, that being the change. Because I think he'll recognise there's no ideal 10 for this game. Because Bergvall, he's not a 10. I don't think Frank wants to play to a player's weakness almost. I think he'll go with all three of Bentancur, Gray and Paulinho in midfield. I think he needs at the moment experience. And I think against Crystal Palace, physicality is needed. So I think the thinking behind Thomas Frank, the Dane's decision, will be Bentancur and Paulinho can provide that physicality and Gray can provide the pass. And Bentancur gets about a little bit more. You cover every area, arguably, with those three. And we could potentially win that midfield battle. So tough to win when you come up against players like Adam Walton in midfield for Palace are exceptional, but even the toughness and kind of grit of someone like Will Hughes. And then I think up front, he'd no doubt go over Richarlison up top. I think he'd opt for Odegaard over Tell on that left-hand side. Maybe a bit of a trust issue with Tell, potentially. I think he will start Johnson on the right. I think he'd be frustrated with Kudus at the moment and recognise that he's a player that could impact this game off the bench. Crystal Palace play Tuesday. They could tire. I think that's nothing, not punishment on Kudus, more of a kind of look, we know you're a star player, let's impact, come on as a cameo off the bench as Palace tire. There we go then. So that would be the predicted lineup. Let's move on to combined 11s then. So if people don't know, I do 2 separate teams. And the reason I do that, and of course, both Palace and Spurs combined, but I do one that's relevant to now. So players from both teams that are only available for selection. And I do another one in terms of all players. So both squads, including injured players, suspended players, players on AFCON. So let's do the one that is most relevant first, and it's just players that are available. I'll read it out and then talk you through it. Dean Henderson in goal. Porro right back, Spence left back, Van der Ven and Gahey as the centre backs. Bergvall, Walton and Gray in midfield. Kudus, Mateta and Odegaard up top. So I believe that's 4 Crystal Palace players. They are missing players like Tottenham. Their injury for suspension, as I said earlier, through AFCON as well. Henderson in goal. I like Vicario, but Henderson I think he's a very good goalkeeper. It's a tough one. It's not clear. Henderson, I think, adds more value to Palace than Vicario does Tottenham. Maybe my thinking behind that. People go, oh, why is Munoz not in here? But he's a doubt, he's a knock potentially for this game. Mitchell probably can feel hard done by not getting in here. I think that is quite harsh. Probably could have put Spence right back and Mitchell left back. Maybe on reflection, I could have even done that, but I've gone with Spence and Porro. And Romero, of course, being unavailable, made my decision so much easier. Gahey and Van der Ven, no doubt. I like Danso. But, he's not the level of Gahey, state the obvious. Midfield, Walton was my first absolute in there. So to be fair to Walton and Gahey, in particular, two of the four Palace picks here, two of the three we've discussed so far, they were both clear. Gahey was, I think, the first defender I put in there, along with Van der Ven, and Walton was definitely the first midfielder I put in there. I've gone with Bergvall and Gray as well. Welsh user I like. I don't think he's got too much about his game, but he's a physical, grit kind of player, as I call them. So that midfield, again, there's no real complaints from me in there. Paulinho and Bergvall have their strengths, but also where they have their strengths, they also have their weaknesses, like any other player. But I just don't think they have quite enough in there. I've gone for a younger, more future-looking, let's just say, midfield. Up top then, Sarr for Palace, of course, on AFCON. Loads of injuries in both teams in these kind of forward areas, attacking midfield areas, and also forward line positions. So Kudus feels like a little bit of a no-brainer. Left-hand side, both teams kind of lacking the way that Palace play. This formation doesn't suit them. That's very worth saying. So I've gone with Odobes, harsh on Palace because they under Glasner set up a different way. It's more like a 3-4, 2-1. But John Philip Mateta, I've gone with up top. His numbers are nowhere near what Richarlison's are this season, but overall, if we're talking calibre of player, I do back Mateta. And once he gets a goal, hopefully not against us, he will get going. I don't think he's a world-class striker, but he's a really decent striker. Let's move on then to the combined 11. I love doing this one so much more. And this is, you can see it now, is players that, both squads, not injured, not suspended, not on AFCON. I love this. Henderson I'll still go with in goal. I'll go with Spence left back, Munoz right back, Gahey and Van der Ven as the centre backs. I'll go with a midfield three of Kulusevski, Walton, Maddison, and a front line of Sarr, Mateta, Xavi Simons. So how many Crystal Palace players get in here then? So I believe it's the 5 Crystal Palace players for this one. Yeah, that's right, 5, so a little bit more. 6 Spurs, 5 Palace, that's fair. I think that's me trying to be as balanced as possible. I'll talk you through the changes then. So the changes in this are Munoz for Porro. Very tight. I think both really good going forward, but maybe you can question them defensively. But again, it's about value to the club. Porro is valuable to Tottenham, but because he plays so many games as well, he's like, kind of Mr. Dependable, Mr. Reliable in that sense. Not in terms of his performances, he's anything but that. He's not consistent at all, in my view, but he's relied upon in terms of he starts every game. But Munoz, in my view, means more to Palace, offers more to Palace than Porro does Tottenham. This is my thinking only, mainly behind this. They're very close, though, in comparison to the players. They're very similar the way they play football, all about offensive output. So it's tough. I've gone with Munoz on that one to make it fair. Romero can feel hard done by, but he proved that he maybe a little bit too rash. And Mark Gahey I really like, and it's tough. I could have gone to a back 3, yes, that was an option, but I'd have to take out a forward player. Maybe I could have gone with like a 3-3. I don't know exactly. Yeah, what would it look like? 3, tough. I can't really decide. 3-4, no. I can't really figure out what I'll do otherwise. So I think that's the right thing to do. Mitchell again, unlucky. What other changes have we got? Kulusevski and Maddison coming in again, in particular Kulu, but also Maddison felt like no-brainers. And Palace are strong in midfield, but it's because of Adam Walton. I don't think a Decore or Shoes does enough to get in there. Kulusevski and Maddison offer so much to Tottenham. To be fair, though, to Palace, Sarr when he's fit is really good. I like Kudus, but Sarr is more consistent. Kudus, you don't know what he's going to offer you, and sometimes he goes back and he frustrates you. Whereas Sarr for Palace, you know he's going to turn up in these big games. Mateta, though, has been inconsistent. He'll be the first to admit it himself, but I think when he gets going, he does get going. And Simons on that left-hand side, then again, like I said earlier, formation doesn't suit Palace. So that makes it tough. They're both combined 11s. I think that wraps us up nicely, though. For this match preview, we covered everything, didn't we? From team news to my thoughts to predicted lineup, preferable lineup, both combined 11s. Get involved in the comments below. Last but not least, then it is the score prediction. Mustn't forget that. Of course, I want Tottenham to win this game. I think we will, but I don't think it'll be anything like Leeds smash Crystal Palace. I don't think it'll be like that. Palace play Tuesday. I think they're still a really decent side under Glasner. Whatever's going on behind the scenes in any unrest with Gahey, with Glasner, so mainly with my manager Glasner. I don't think there's unrest now. I think the full focus, he will say and the club will say, is on now. But when your manager, if you don't know he's going to be here in 6 months, don't tell me that everything's going to be rosy. It's not. It can focus, of course, on this season, but it's very difficult to do so. I think Tottenham win this game 2-1. I think it'd be a tough affair. Any game against Crystal Palace is tough. I know Leeds beat them 4-1, but it was a tough game. They created opportunities, and realistically, that kind of game was a 3-1, 3-2 type of game, a lot tighter than the scoreline reflects. Leeds were great, but Palace weren't awful. That's the reality. A tough team to play, Crystal Palace. Standout individuals that could feature are the likes of Gahey, the likes of Walton. Mateta hasn't got going, but still, you've got to watch him. Physical presence in the box. He's been wasteful in front of goal. So Palace create a lot of chances, but sometimes struggle to get that second goal, put games to bed. That for me is really costing them, and that puts pressure on the defence. But thank you for watching this match preview. Hope you enjoyed as well, with new tech, such a new microphone and new laptop to do it as well. But thank you very much. And what's left to say is, of course, a massive come on you Spurs for the game on Sunday at Selhurst Park.
You came along just like a song.